Welcome back. Aggie Nation, powered by the Eagle, Aubrey Bloom, Robert Cessna, talking A&M Vandy, the game that was the classic in Nashville, the mauling in Music City, I don't know, whatever. This Vanderbilt's horrible. That's the first
I'm
thing.
making a prediction. They'll be better the next time A&M goes back there.
Wow, will they? Will the world still exist?
Yeah, they'll 12 years to go and get ready for that or whatever.
We don't know what's going to be happening by then. You can hit us up, 693-1150 to call us. You can text us at 229-1939. Vandy is bad, but the good news is A&M destroyed them. I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, if you're an A&M fan, you're going, all right, at least we killed a bad team. Auburn's not very good. They lost to them. South Carolina is not very good, and that game was close. So at least you finally got out there and killed an SEC opponent, whether they're actually one or just technically, but whatever, and you blew them off the field. So that's got to feel good for the team. Now you've only got one game left. It's against LSU, and you just throw it all on the field and see what happens. But the thing that stuck out, and you can talk about the defensive side of the ball, and I wrote about this in my column after the game, that the fact that the A&M defense had a good game isn't surprising. The fact that maybe the degree to which they dominated is surprising. I don't think I would have predicted a shutout. But this game was never going to be high scoring for Vanderbilt. A&M's defense is pretty good, and Vanderbilt's offense is abysmal. So that was going to happen. Now the degree, again, you're talking about degrees here instead of what actually happened. But the other side of the ball was surprising. A&M's offense absolutely lit up Vanderbilt's defense in the passing game until they got close to the end zone, and then sort of felt, you know what, instead of risking it here, we can get a field goal, and Vanderbilt's not going to beat us. So let's just go ahead and get that field goal, which looked to me, again, this was part of my column after the game, was the two sides of this. In one aspect, this says we don't have confidence in our quarterbacks to not turn the ball over and get into the end zone. So we're going to just settle for field goals. We're going to play it safe on third down. We're going to kick the field goal, and we're going to see what happens. So that says to me a lack of confidence in their quarterbacks and falling expectations for the offense, but at the same time addresses the reality of the situation, and that's that they shouldn't have confidence in these quarterbacks. They have turned the ball over in key situations, and whether you think it's going to work this week or not, I like the game plan against Vandy. Go down there, get close, get the field goal, and see if Vandy can beat you.
Well, what I liked was most of all about the offensive game plan, and I've been critical of this in the last few weeks as Kyle Allen lost his job and they went to Kyler Murray. A&M ran a lot of formations where they use an H-back, fullback, Caden Smith. They go with a tight end. And when I look at that as a novice football fan / media person, what have you, I kept saying to myself, you're taking off one of your receivers that's probably one of your higher recruits when you look back at how you brought these people in, and you're going to run a Davis or Smith. You're going to bring another player from another team into the box, one more person into the box, and I felt that wasn't to A&M's advantage. What I loved about Saturday night is A&M went with 5 linemen. They basically went with a 4 wide receiver set. Sometimes they went with 3 with 2 running backs, which I even like that. Once they established the passing game, because Vanderbilt, no way they could match up with Kirk, Knoll, Seal, Jones, and whoever else they put out, whether it be Ratley, Niederhoff, even split out Carson, what have you. There were openings. You could see all night long that there were openings, but as you said, you get down inside the 20, those openings closed down. So I like the fact that they were very conservative as well at that point, because they're trying to get Allen confidence. Allen had played less than a quarter in the last 3 games, and he had been very beat down at Ole Miss, physically, maybe mentally, what have you. So that being said, is next time I think they might try to throw in those windows. And then once they started passing the ball, they were able to run the ball with 5 linemen and Trey Carson back there. Sometimes, as you mentioned, they had White back there. They had 2 linemen. They ended up rushing the ball 36 times, passing it 36, 35, 38, very close, 38 runs, 36 passes. I like the balance. One time across the middle, Allen near the end zone threw a ball that should have been intercepted.
Yeah.
They backed off that because I like the fact, he should even have more confidence because he had 6 drops that I wrote down on my sheet. I'd be interested to see what A&M had. So while he was 18 of 36. He had 6 drops on a cold night, so he should have been at least 34.
Yeah.
So I like this going forward. Now, I agree with everybody, the fans, and you said as well, will those windows be there against LSU? Will their offensive line 5-on-5 be able to hold those guys off? Because Vanderbilt can never get to Allen, maybe 1 time out of 10 by rushing 4 or 3. But I like the game plan. Don't worry about style points. Win the game, and that's one time that A&M's game plan to be worked from the start to the end. It doesn't always happen that way, but I am curious going forward how Allen does against a better competition, tougher road environment. Can he duplicate a no
How about just
turnover
a road environment? The only road aspect of this game is that it was on turf, which they don't have at Kyle Field, and that it was cold, which it usually isn't at Kyle Field.
But sometimes a crappy atmosphere is tough on you as
right,
well.
Well, that's true.
Because you go and it goes, Kyle Allen probably said, am I back in Scottsdale? This looks like a high school game with cold weather.
Yeah, well, it felt like a bowl game is what it felt like to me. I mean, just a half-full stadium and,
maybe a Papa John's bowl game or something.
Well, like last year's Liberty Bowl. That's what it felt like to me. A game where, it was kind of like, whatever, let's get out there.
We have to play here, but with no swag.
Yeah, right. We didn't get any free stuff.
Other than the Chick-fil-A
we got a Chick-fil-A sandwich. But, Kyle Allen was 18 of 36. If he has, let's say, 6 of those drops back, he's 24 of 36. That's 66%. That's pretty
yards, probably.
That's pretty good. He gets probably close to 400 yards if they catch those, and that's a great day against the defense. Like we said, is pretty good. They're real good, and that's the thing. Could A&M have pressed the issue a little bit more on 3rd down? Probably. They didn't feel like it. They didn't have to. And in this game, that's maybe the biggest relief. I can't remember a game, maybe the Arizona State game at the beginning of the season, where A&M basically said, we don't think you can score, and so we're going to play our offense as a result. A&M has been a team that has to score as many points as it can. It has to take risks on offense. It has to go crazy because who knows how many they're going to give up on the other side of the football. For the first time, and like I said, Arizona State was a little bit like this earlier in the year. A&M seemed like they thought, you know what, our defense is playing so good, we're just going to we're not going to risk it. We're not going to turn it over. We're going to kick the field goals, and we'll see what happens. So I thought that, like I said, I thought it was a pretty good strategy by the offensive staff. And you got to give them credit. They did move the ball well. Trey Carson ran the ball well. He didn't run it a whole lot. They ran it. The running backs ran it 30 times. They passed it 36 times. Kyle Allen had 8 carries. Some of those were sacks and different things also. But they ran the ball enough to be effective, and then they threw the football, which is what A&M does, which is what Kyle Allen does, which is why Kyle Allen, when he's healthy, you're never going to convince me he was healthy for the last few weeks. He is this offense's best option, and he showed that Saturday. They looked, again, between the 20s, unstoppable. The only time they got slowed down was when they kind of slowed themselves down. When they got on the other side of the field, they were terrible in short yardage. But again, I attribute a lot of that to not wanting to take any risks. I think, and I don't have the exact number in front of me. It was in my story after the game. But in yardage situations where they had less than 4 yards to go, there was something like 3 of 14 for the game, which is not good. You got to be able to run the ball better than that. And the truth is, they still can't run the ball when the other team thinks they're going to run the ball.
Or knows they're going to run the ball.
Right.
They think so.
Right, that is a problem. And that is going to be a problem against LSU in the bowl game, and a problem they need to address in the offseason. But you can't fix that now. You've got to fix what you can fix. And overall, like I said, I liked the game plan on Saturday. I thought they did a pretty good job with dealing with the reality of where they are right now.
I like the fact on with Allen, and you will not convince me that he wasn't hurt as well physically and maybe a little mentally. But that being said, is Kyler Murray to me showed he needs a little more development. But the way this offense is set up with the good wide receivers, you need a strong arm, a tight window, knowing how to read the progressions. That's why you go with Kyle Allen. And I put an asterisk aside this game because great game plan, great execution, but B, it was Vanderbilt. But gang, I expected to be sitting here talking about an A&M 23-16 win, somewhere along those lines, last week at this time. So they played much better than I thought they would. Now, it was Vanderbilt, and I understand it, but give them their credit because I expected them to be talking about a lackluster win today, and it wasn't the case. But now, can they go do that at LSU? In these next 2 games, Can they go out with some, I'm talking about the offense, with some semblance of a game plan, execute it, have minimal turnovers. They still have to work on the penalties, too many penalties. And then they also, can they go out and hang 450 yards at least offense on these next two games? That's what I want to see.
And the other thing, real quick, before we go to our next break, and we got a bunch of texts that we're going to run through the text in the next break, so keep them coming, 229-1939. The big thing for me is about the offense is it again looked explosive. They had obviously the 95-yard touchdown, but I think of Allen's 30 of his 18 completions, 10 went for 10 yards or more. They were big plays down the field, and they let their best players, which is their wide receivers right now, Ricky Seals-Jones, Speedy Noyle, all of a sudden looks like the guy that we all thought 80 yards in this game, and Christian Kirk, who had a couple good plays as well, and Josh Reynolds. They looked like the guys. They looked like their best unit. They get them out in space. Yeah, they're not going to complete every single one. You're not going to throw 80% when you're throwing it down the field. But give those guys a chance to go make plays, and they'll make some plays.
And other than the time they let the defensive tackle come clean to stop Carson on 3rd and 1, the offensive line did a very good job from my naked eye. You didn't see people just coming in unabated, just knocking Allen or just not blowing up the receiver 6 yards deep in the end zone like every series.
Yeah,
so,
I thought they did a great job.
But it was Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job in pass coverage, pass protection,
Correct,
which is what the big thing in this game was. All right, we're gonna break. When we come back, we'll get y'all's text. Hit us up 229-1939. What's on your mind? You're talking about Vandy. You're talking about LSU. You're talking about Les Miles. You're talking about whatever you're talking about. We will get to it. Hit us up 229-1939. It's Aggie Nation, powered by the Eagle here on Sports Radio 1150 in the Zone FM 102.7.